Welcome to the 700 Club. A killer winter storm blasted through the Midwest yesterday, leaving at least 4 people dead in its wake. And it's not done yet. Today, from Missouri to Maine, millions are in the storm's deadly path. What's also ahead for the East Coast? Heather Sells reports on this wicked weather.
At least 25 million Americans face a winter weather alert today. A new storm system is moving from Missouri to Maine, forcing those in its path to take caution.
We can see the northbound vehicle cross the median and was struck by a southbound pickup truck.
In Nebraska, 2 were killed in this crash while snow fell. Authorities say weather may have been a factor. The winter storm brought snow and ice to the plains on Sunday, making it tough for holiday shoppers. Some people are trying to make the best of the weather, using the snow to their advantage. 8 inches of snow in Kansas City closed schools, but didn't stop the Chiefs and Broncos from taking the field Sunday. Adding to the fun with a pregame snowball fight and touchdown celebrations featuring snow angels. Today, the weather will expand into the mid-Atlantic and create slick spots for commuters from Indianapolis to Philadelphia. You can see here where the heaviest snow is expected today and tomorrow. On the East Coast, the storm will bring a combination of rain, snow, and ice. Forecasters say Pennsylvania and southern New England could get up to 1/4 inch of ice glaze on surfaces like power lines and hand railings. A second storm system is developing today in the lower Mississippi Valley, with snow and ice on the northern edge and severe thunderstorms in the southeast. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Did you ever hear that song, All I Want for Christmas? The little boy says, it's my 2 front teeth. Well, in other news, what does Chuck Schumer want for his Christmas? What is he asking for? And what's he likely to get? Wendy Griffith has the latest on the impeachment insanity from our CBN newsroom. Here's Wendy.
Pat, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer wants Santa to bring him several current and former Trump administration officials subpoenaed to testify in the Senate trial, including Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and former National Security Advisor John Bolton. It's not likely Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will comply with those demands, since he has also reportedly pushed back on President Trump's desire to call witnesses like Representative Adam Schiff and Hunter Biden. McConnell and other GOP leaders maintain that impeachment is not warranted.
I hope that the senators will insist on getting the documents, on hearing from the witnesses, on making up their own mind.
I am clearly made up my mind. I'm not trying to hide the fact that I have disdain for the accusations in the process, so I don't need any witnesses.
One Democrat who opposes impeachment might switch parties. Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey is expected to join the Republican Party in coming days. Meanwhile, 2 new polls reveal the American people still very much divided. A Fox News poll shows 50% of Americans support impeaching and removing the president, while a USA Today poll has 51% opposing a Senate vote removing him from office. The U.S. and China will sign the first agreement in a hard-fought trade deal the first week of January. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said Phase 1 totally done. China has agreed to buy billions of agricultural products, nearly doubling U.S. exports over the next 2 years. President Trump says it's good news for American farmers.
And I say affectionately, the farmers are going to have to go out and buy much larger tractors, because it means a lot of business, a tremendous amount of business.
It's the second trade victory for the administration in a week. The House is set to approve the USMCA trade agreement with Canada and Mexico in coming days. However, the Senate will not take it up until after the impeachment trial in January. Well, overseas British Prime Minister Boris Johnson capitalizing on his big win in Friday's parliamentary elections. He's moving now for a swift vote on a bill to withdraw the UK from the European Union, and that's to meet the January 31st deadline. Brexit was, of course, the main reason British voters supported the Conservatives, handing Labour its greatest defeat since 1935. It gave Conservatives a majority not seen since Margaret Thatcher back in the 80s. A surprise result in Scotland. The National Party there won 47 of 59 seats. Party leaders say it's a sign voters don't feel the Prime Minister has the right to decide for them, and their goal is to gain independence from the UK. Well, a controversial UN body that provides aid to Palestinian refugees has been renewed, this over the objections of the U.S. and Israel. They accuse the agency of anti-Israel incitement. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell explains.
For 70 years, the UN Relief and Works Agency has operated refugee camps for Palestinians.
It is about time to shut down UNRWA. They are not helping the Palestinians.
Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, tells CBN News hatred remains strong due to shocking incitement found in the Palestinian Authority school curriculum.
Today, a Palestinian child, when he goes to the UNRWA school, he comes out hating Jews, incited, supporting Hamas. It shouldn't be that funding from Western democracies will support such curriculum.
Israel welcomed the U.S. decision to stop funding to UNRWA more than a year ago. Researcher David Bedeen has studied Palestinian school books and UNRWA facilities for years. He says while it's not likely UNRWA will be shut down, donor nations should put conditions on their aid.
Number one, take the school books away. We have school books here which honor murderers and throughout the books and talk about dying for the right of return. Number two, give people the option to leave the camps. Number three, there's $1.2 billion flowing into the UNRWA camps without any real oversight.
In 1978, Dalal al-Mughrabi led a terror cell that killed 38 people, including 13 children.
She's pictured as a martyr in a new school book for 321,000 children. Dalal al-Mughrabi as a role model for the children who are taught the concept in UNRWA schools of the right of return by force of arms.
The right of return refers to the Palestinian demand that the refugees from 1948 and millions of their descendants be allowed to return to their homes, most of which no longer exist.
My name is Rasan Kuwar, and I am a refugee from the village of Malka.
Today, Malka is a busy Israeli residential and commercial area in Jerusalem. Bedeen's group recently produced a short film in Bethlehem's Aida refugee camp, just a few miles from Jerusalem.
There's no two-state or one-state solution. There's only one state, and it will be Palestine forever. And what was taken by battle will be reconquered through battle.
We must conquer our land by force. This land is our land. There's no way to divide it.
The children grow up with the idea that there is no Israel. It has to be ignored and or wiped out.
Bedeen believes the seeds of the next Palestinian uprising against Israel have already been planted in these camps. He says the international community needs to step up to uproot those violent seeds by putting conditions on their aid. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. Pat, what do you think?
I thought that organization should have been disbanded a long time ago. The UN Relief and Works Agency. It has been a seedbed for trouble, and they've held at least 500,000 of these people in a stateless condition in some form of poverty, saying, we're going to keep you here until Israel gives you the right of return and means that your relatives and all the people in your family will come back to the cities that you abandoned. But what happened in the old days was as the Arabs tried to force the Jews out, they told everybody, you leave your cities, but when we get through killing off the Jews, you can come back in and take them. Well, unfortunately for them, the Jews won, and Israel remained a nation. And this is not Palestinian land, it is Israelis. And you go back in history, it was given to the patriarchs, it was given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was given to those who God said that this is your land and it'll be your land forever. There was no so-called Palestinians. They're Arabs that have come in from other areas. But the United Nations Works Agency has held them in this bondage for these years, and they're filling them full of propaganda and hatred toward Israel. I think before long, the time's going to come when the United States would say to the UN, it's been fun to know you, but we're leaving and you don't get any more money from us. We pay probably a third of their total budget. And the UN, in my opinion, is nothing but a sounding board for terror. and the General Assembly is ridiculous, and the Security Council is locked up by the Russians and the Chinese that have a veto power. So why not set up a confederation of democratic nations and start another agency? That's a World War II relic that has outlived its usefulness. And the UN, I mean, the United States should not enforce it anymore. But at least the president has said we're not going to support UNRWA. But that's just one piece of it. We should no longer support the United Nations. It isn't worth it. Wendy?
The Hallmark Channel says it will reinstate commercials featuring same-sex couples. Several ads on the channel from a wedding website showed two women kissing at the altar. It was pulled from the network following complaints from the conservative group 1 Million Moms. More than 40,000 people signed a petition saying the ad did not align with the network's mission to provide family-friendly content. After backlash from celebrities and LGBT groups, Hallmark reversed that decision. CEO Mark Perry issued a statement Sunday saying it was the wrong decision to pull the commercials. Pat?
Well, Hallmark does what it does. The LGBTQ group has got a tremendous amount of power, and many people in the media are lined up with them, and their voices, even though they represent a tiny fraction of the population, their voices are very strong in the news and in politics. And the progressives seem to have won the day.